Good evening and welcome to Aintree Grand National Special. The clocks have gone forward. The summer is approaching, but we're still focusing on National Hunt, Matty.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful outside. The Lincoln's been and gone, and all of a sudden we're straight back into the jumps. Always a bit of a strange time of year, chopping and changing the codes. But yeah, no, looking forward to it as always. How are you?
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's real flat weather outside, but we're still loyal to the National Hunt, obviously, with for the week that's in it. You're a bit of a celebrity after last weekend. I saw you on ITV and numerous other racing channels in at Doncaster.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a mooch around the Doncaster. Had a good time. Met a few good lads. The Pomp Adventures boys are just touched off in the Lincolns. One of the I've never seen a group of lads take a beating so well like that. And then we had a good time. It was all good fun. Good fun.
Yeah, it didn't look like it affected their spirits too much, despite the
No,
agonising defeat.
not at all. No. We've had a. Say, I'll tell you what. The day on Saturday ripped me off. I don't know whether it was a bout of seconditis that I had or just a plague going around town more. I'm not too sure what it was, but slowly
Yeah,
on the mend.
seconditis can affect the energy, all right.
Exactly. Yeah, I've still got nightmares of Iberian hanging left up the straight, but we'll kick on. Switch codes up again. I'll be glad to see the back of the flat for a while after that.
Yeah, we've got a break from it. We've got a break from it. I didn't play much now the weekend, to be honest. Normally tread carefully for the first few weeks of the flat season. And Aintree, yeah, I've obviously looked at the cards. I've looked at the Thursday decks, and there's not too many bets jumping out at me at this point. But must have another look again. But hopefully we'll find something for this evening. We get stuck into the nationals straight away. Obviously, look, it's the feature of the weekend. It's the one of the features of the entire season. It's the race that attracts even the most casual of racing followers. You'll always get even the guy down the road who's no interest in horses asking you what'll win the national. We won't get to that just yet, Matty, but we're going to dissect the race, I suppose, like we normally do with our handicaps. Go through a deep dive of the Grand National, start with some stats or trends or profiling the race, working through then eventually to our selections. But we'll spend some time on it. We'll have a good look at the race. First of all, Matty, I'm going to pose the question to you. I know you're good on the stats. Do you think the stats are changing somewhat in recent years, or have you stuck to your guns?
I think they will do in years to come. I think we should touch on with the changes that happened in 2024. I think that'll have a bit of an impact now. Obviously, runners have gone from 40 to 34. They've moved the first fence 60 yards closer from the start. The standing start's been introduced. The open ditches has shortened as well. So I think with the race, it's becoming naturally an easier test, and perhaps not the 4 mile plus slog that it used to be. And I think that will attract the classier horses. It'll be easier for the classier horses, rather than the kind of the unexposed sorts that've still got some wiggle room in the marks. And I think as time goes on, if those changes continue to be implemented, I think the stats will change. But I suppose that within recent years, I mean, the stats have held, the stats have held up, haven't they? Generally, the last 10 of 11 wins have been aged between 7 and 9. 5 of the last 11 won last time out. 9 of the last 11 had the last run within the last 49 days. Runs in the seat, runs over 3 mile further too. 10 of the last 11 had at least 5 runs over 3 mile or further. At least 9 chase runs. Graded form's always important in the national, of course, which will definitely continue to be a factor going forward. 7 of the last 11 winners were all graded winners, and one that's also a key one. At least all 11 of the last 11 winners have had at least 3 runs that season. So you want something where you can know exactly where the mark is, something not perhaps coming, something that's had a decent season. But yeah, so I think the stats will chop and change, but I suppose in the end they'll favour the more classy horses.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going that way. I think now, like, you need to be probably, if not a grade one horse, borderline grade one, or the potential to be a grade one, perhaps. And that's certainly the kind of profile I'd be looking at anyway. If you look at the last few winners, they've been touching on that sort of class. I agree with you 100% that a little bit of match practice is important. You said the last 11, yeah, I had kind of like 12 of the last 13, I think had 3 runs or more. I know some horses probably go well fresh, but I'm not sure coming into a race like this, is it the best kind of preparation? Obviously, trainers know their horses better than I do, but I like a horse that has had a few runs and is kind of battle hardened that season coming into the race. Anything else on the angle point of view, Matty, that you have?
Not particularly. I'm just thinking. So, obviously, with the changes in mind, if we cast a mind back to last year's national, where there was no recorded fallers in the form book, and I suppose the powers that be and the authorities in the race world are all saying, well, what result? The processes have nothing to moan about. No one's sadly passed. No one's fell. But then, and you think to yourself, well, hang on a minute. If you look to the second fence, last year's winner, the 2023 winner, Corrick Rambler, fell loose by himself, and he's won a national. So I suppose like it kind of defies the triumphant nature of last season of last year's national, and you just wonder whether the changes that are being made are they for the safety of the horses or to appease a group of people that are never going to enjoy the sport until it's banned. I think safety is paramount in the sport, of course, but you also don't want to lose what the national has always been about, and that's not necessarily danger, but it's the spectacle of the national. I think that's something that with the changes going forward, I think it will make it safer. But no, there's always racing is a risk. Things happen in racing. Horses tip over, people get bumped into, and you can make it into a flat race, take all the hurdles and the fences out. One will still fall somehow, and then they'll be on the case again. So I just stats aside, I do wonder where the future of the national is actually heading as well.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. I suppose it's garnered much debate in recent years. I agree with you that like there are a certain percentage of the population that no matter what racing does, we're not going to appease them. I think those people are not really our concern. I think it's the general public, the large percentage of the population that are neither for nor against the sport. I think it's those that probably maybe perhaps some of the changes were necessary. Have we gone too far? I suppose it's not going to go back the other way, but we are diluting it a little bit certainly. And you'd wonder, like, yeah, it's something I'm not really sure about. I was a little bit uneasy with the national a few years ago. It just wasn't a spectacle, even for someone who's used to it and I won't say comfortable with those things, but it's not new to me, and I just felt it was a terrible watch. I didn't enjoy it myself personally, and I think changes were required. I think the numbers is a big thing because look, it's basic maths that the less runners we have, the less potential there are for loose horses, etc. I think a clear path certainly helps the horses that they can see the fences and they can spread out safely and avoid any potential loose horses. I do think that was a good move. That's something that people were pushing for a few years. But then on the other side of that, horses are finding it harder to get a run in the nationals. Some trainers are dominating with 4 or 5 runners, maybe even more, and it's excluding probably the stories that made the national great. The likes of the small trainer with maybe a couple of horses and they train the winner of the national. We probably don't have those stories as such anymore.
Yeah, I agree. And just on that, like with last year's national, because it was much more of a pleasant spectacle. But when you look at the winner, he's third in the Irish Gold Cup. He'd won a Grade One novice the same season. He'd won the Irish national year before. The second was a Group One winner, formerly rated 171. Third, a Gold Cup winner, once rated 175, and then the fourth was a formerly rated 168 winner who had filled a frame in the 2022 Gold Cup. And I think that kind of tells you that signifies the direction that the national's going in.
Certainly. Okay, let's get stuck in. First, I suppose before we start talking about our shortlist and going through some of the runners, do you think it'll be run similar to last year in terms of will there be 15, 20 horses in it with a couple of fences to go, or do you think they'll go a stronger pace early on?
I think they go a stronger pace early on. Look at all the horses to the fore of the market: Stumptown, Iroko, Vanillier, I have Maximus. Percival Galwa. All of them are going to be held up on midfield at least. I know Hewitt can go forward. In 10 travels has been prominent before. Highland and Camden Kidd may go forward. So I do think there'll be a couple that will be coming off the pace. I don't think it'll be breakneck. But I'd imagine the classy horses will probably be sitting in midfield and picking them off late. So I do think, I think there'll be a few going up there with a chance two or three out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there'll be. I think it's possibly a deeper race than last year. I think there's 7 or 8 maybe that I could make a case for. Having said that, there was plenty I could kind of draw a line through, and I was happy enough to rule out of the equation as well. My shortlist is a little bit long at the moment, but we'll talk through that before we go into any selections. We'll discuss that in a while. But your shortlist, Matty, have you narrowed it down a little bit, or?
Yeah, I'm certainly in the process of finalising one. The starting point for me, I put in 10 offers up about 3 weeks ago now. I think 14-1. The only slight issue I have is the ground. I think he does want it a lot deeper. But I looked on the goal stick just about half an hour ago. I think I said it's 4.5, and they've been watering throughout the week. Like, they aren't going to let this national go off good ground at all. So I do think that you could have that gluey, tacky ground, and intense offers might actually be fine on it. Obviously, an Irish national, when they're following the path of Iron Maximus, he's well in from the Bobby Joe that he was second to Nick Rocket in. So I think Irish at the moment, intense raffles would be my main pick on the shortlist.
Yeah, I agree with everything you've said there. Basically, a few weeks ago, I'd have been very keen on him. I am echoing your concerns on the ground. Good to soft. I'm not like just looking at his form, his action. I think he might want it soft, but I have cooled on him slightly. There's probably others that have jumped above him in the pecking order, but he's certainly included in my long list, as we'll call it.
Yeah, there's a couple others like Senior Chief for Henry de Bromhead, who's of course won the national. He's one that will like the ground if it comes on a good to soft side. It was a massive eye catcher, I thought, in the Coral Gold Cup. I think it was fifth or sixth, just kind of lobbing around the midfield. Didn't look to be necessarily put in the contest, stayed on quite well. Then they put him in a per attempt qualifier, which I thought was hilarious. And we've seen horses with one national gone over hurdles for the pref runs. And I thought if you look back at that pref run, like there was absolutely no intention to win that race whatsoever. Borderline hilarious. But I thought that had put him spot on for this. 3-card Bragg was also on the shortlist. I think I backed him a couple of starts ago when he was in the first time blinkers when he looked like he was going to win. I think he traded 1-3 on, then just bombed out. Beat the our old mate Kinter Calanese next time out, and then put in a good effort last time out. He just strikes me 3-card Bragg as one that would appreciate this trip. I don't think he's the quickest of the horses, but I think he's a downstayer. He has some great novice form from last season, in and around the likes of Monty's Star and Corbett's Cross. Second season novice had a good record in this race too. He's a half brother to a Hexham national and over 4 miles too. So there is a stamina in the pedigree for 3-card Bragg. And then the one at a wild swing, and would be Hitman. Now, not for 1 second do I think he could win this race, but to finish second or third, I mean that's his ball game, isn't it? He's around 100. He's around 100-1. I think you'll find worse each way bets than Hitman. He's second in the manifesto here. He's second in the Melon Chase here. He's been second in an old run twice here. I know he's had a couple of races that he's bombed out in, but he's got lovely Aintree form. He's been second in the Denman Chase, staying on twice. I know that his better form has come over shorter. His winning form for all there is a lack of it. But look, he's second in the Denman Chase twice, staying on both times. Last time out, then of course, a Shishkin a couple of years ago. He's a classy horse on his day. He's it's a type of horse where you just think, imagine if he just needed this test all his life. It doesn't look very quick. There's races that it stays on, and the race that it doesn't quite stay on. The race that it does stay on in, it just looks as if he could just gallop all day. And I just wouldn't be entirely surprised if Hitman gets around if he can't finishes plods on for a place. I mean, you've been on 5, 6, 7 places on the day. And that's one of the hitman to finish second would be a good bet. And then the last one on the shortlist would be Monbeg Genius. Look, we all know the Cork Rambler, fast or slow form line by now, the Ultima. Of course, the Ultima's a race that's succeeded. Cork Rambler going well in the Grand National. Went off the boil, but then he stayed on very well in the Hennessy a couple of seasons ago. Again, there behind That's All Right Gino. Made a good run from the front. Bounced back to form recently. I know he kind of weakened away a little bit in the Welsh National, which wouldn't necessarily bode well for this trip. But I don't think he was perhaps primed that day. It was a lovely winner last time out in the reapplied cheek piece that you talked to. Career best RPR 152. That to me suggests that you still get further. There's a little bit of a man moan about him, I suppose. The horse that you forget and then goes and wins it. He goes and wins it when he comes back. So at the moment, that'd be my shortlist: Intense Raffles, Senior Chief, Hitman, 3-Card Brag, and Monbeg Genius.
Okay, interesting. My shortlist is slightly longer. Like I say, I haven't really narrowed down. I've kind of like my first selection. Maybe I'll probably back 2 or 3 in the race. I normally do. I do have 3-Card Brag here. We match there, and I have Intense Raffles. Concern, like I said, about the ground. 3-Card Brag, I agree. Like, he's been third in the Grade 1 Novice at Punchestown. Shaped very well in the Paddy Power, I thought. Like, he went mad. He went mad halfway through that race, and still wasn't beating a million miles. That's always a very good trial for this race. Like, it's produced numerous winners over the years. At a wild price, I thought Duffel Coat was one of the ones at mega prices. Like, I think he's around 50 to 66.
The Triumph Hurdle, was it the Triumph Hurdle that he won a few years ago?
He won the trial, wasn't it?
Oh, I can't remember which one it was.
He won the trial on Trials Day, and then I think he bombed out in the race itself. But I thought he was. I didn't think he was out of it when he was brought down at Cheltenham in the National Hunt Chase. Same mark here. He's £5 higher than when second in the Galway Plate, but that trip would be very much on the short side for him, I would think. And I like horses these days that have form over a little bit shorter, good form, and not just kind of your old-fashioned plotters that would have been the profile for the race. And he likes nice ground as well. I think last year's winner is rock solid. I think it's going to be very hard to keep him out of the frame off £8 higher. I just look at the likes of obviously Noble Yates, like, came back £19 higher. Was Noble Yates more impressive than I Am Maximus was last year? I don't think so. I think he was one of the most impressive national winners in a long time.
I was trying to find out. Sorry, the last top weight to win the national. I couldn't quite work out who it was.
I couldn't find it either. The stats aren't good now. The stats aren't good. They are changing to horses above 11 stone. So I think it's gonna. It hasn't happened. Top weight hasn't won in a long time, anyway, as far as I'm aware. But I think it could happen again in the near future because of the changing profile. So look, he might bump into 1 or 2 that are better handicapped, but I think he's rock solid. Percival Legalwa, I quite like for Gavin Cromwell. Again, Paddy Power form, good trial for the race, deeply impressive. I loved what he did from the last home in that Paddy Power. Like, he really put lengths between himself and the field. He's well up on the weights for that. He's now off 153, which takes him to a higher mark than Iroko. Do I see Percival Legalwa being a Grade 1 horse? Probably not. But this test could really suit him. If it was run at Leopardstown, I'd be very keen on him. It's best form coming at Leopardstown, but Aintree is not that dissimilar. It's fairly flat and galloping. There are similarities. I think that's why the Paddy Power form holds up well in this race too. And the best handicapped horse in the race, in my opinion, if he performs, slight question mark about him getting round, but Iroko just has to be better than 152. He just has to be. His entry form from last season, like when he split the Bromhead's horse, the name escapes me now, and I know the way you're thinking.
Heartwood, that was that thing.
Heartwood, yes, thank you, Matty. Didn't let me down there, didn't let me hanging. I just think, like, he's definitely a 160 plus horse. Now, they've been messing around with him all year, and I don't know if that's going to catch him out, but I'd be slightly concerned about his jumping. I think that needs to hold up. That is a slight concern. Even it's kind of more the shape he makes at his fences. He does get quite high behind. But look, you have to take a chance that any horse that hasn't been around the course will get round. I don't think he'd be an each way play for me. I think I could see him winning, but I could see him struggling with the contest as well in terms of just the test that it presents. But he would probably be top of my short list marginally at the moment, but I'd be very keen on JP's chances. There might be a reason why he didn't risk his Gold Cup winner. So if I was to stick you for one selection, Matty.
I mean, on the day, if it looked like it was soft enough, it'd be intense raffles. I've been on it for a while now, but I just do think it needs that soft ground. So I'd probably go with Senior Chief for the Bromhead. I mean, he was sent. I think he was sent off 10-1 for an Irish national last season. Just ding at home in the deep ground. There's just something about it. I think they've campaigned well this season. I think they'll do a good mark, and he'll love the ground. So it'll be a Senior Chief at the moment.
Yeah, I can definitely see the case from just Hitman. I had just a question mark beside him. I wrote notes on all 34 horses that I think we're going to run, and he was the only one that I didn't actually have a word beside. I just had a question mark, and I just drew the line. Senior Chief, yeah, I
I
had
think
him
that
as a
speaks
line there.
volumes about Hitman, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't think I'll be the only one to just have a question mark beside him. But yeah, for me, sorry, I actually forgot to mention Vanillier, who's back on the same mark. Has been second in
Of course, yeah.
2023. He's also in the shortlist. For me, it would probably be Percival Legalwa in terms of an each way play at a reasonable price. I think money could come for him. I'd be surprised now if he doesn't go off shorter than his current 14-1. So it could change between now and Saturday, but as things stand now, I've given you my long short list, and at the top of that at the moment is Percival Legalwa.
Just on that one, neither of us has mentioned the current favourite Stumptown. What do you think of Stumptown's chances?
Yeah, he was. Oh, I got this horse wrong ahead of the cross country. I don't know. Like he was one of the later ones to come off. Like he was on the initial shortlist until I realised I had about 12, and then he was in the second cull. 157. I just like he's going to have to be borderline grade one, and
Yeah.
maybe he's just been improving through lesser races, and it's gone under the radar. I think this is a better race than the cross country. I know I've made the case for Vanillier, but I think this test will suit Vanillier better than Stumptown, and they'd have been pretty close, I think, at these weights in the cross country if Vanillier didn't almost run off the track. So I could see him running well, but at the price, I just think he's a little bit short in the market. I think he might go the other way.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd agree with that.
But I certainly wouldn't rule him out. I don't think you can rule out anything that Gavin Cromwell runs in these kind of races anyway. He's just so good. But and he's owned by local lads here, just in the road to me as well. So look, he's carrying the Kerry colours. So I'll have to give him some moral support anyway, at least. Right, we'll whiz through the other races at the meeting. We're going to do our usual yay or nay for the grade ones, and then we'll touch on our best bets for the meeting that'll include all races. So, yay or nay, Matty, give me your first selection for a grade one, and I'll tell you if I agree with you or I disagree with you.
So my just get the race. So my first one will be Imperial Pass in the manifesto, the novice chair. Sorry. Now, my first protocol here was taken on Django Bay. I'm just not a huge fan of a Cheltenham novice form around this contest. Not entirely sure what the dog's doing, as always. I think obviously I know he'll improve the step up to 2 mile 4. We knew that before the Arkle. We certainly know it after the Arkle. It's just Cheltenham form around here. I think I'm very keen to be on the side of Imperial Pass, who I think he can sort of disregard his run at Leopardstown last time out. was never really put in the race behind Ballyburn. Just had lobbed around in his own time, didn't jump particularly very well. But it did come with a winning run before it just sort of petered out. His record outside the track as well, I think he's got 9 wins in a second outside the track at the Leopardstown. He's been beaten there 3 times. Just doesn't, for whatever reason, seem to put it all in there. He's unbeaten in the month of April with 3 wins. And I thought prior to Leopardstown, his jumping was quite impressive, maybe perhaps in float at times. But look, he's a Gradle winner at Aintree. Of course, he won the top novices hurdle here last season, in really impressive style, beating some decent types. 2 from 2 from similar breaks of around 60 days, and I do like the cheek piece angle too. It's one of those horses where you just think your cheek piece will just eke out further aid in the jumping department. He could win this quite cosily. Obviously, classic Grade 1 hurdler. He was back to that kind of hurdling best. I'd struggle to see much beat him in the manifesto.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd strongly agree with that. Actually, he was very close to being in my tree. I've always kind of had a soft spot for this horse. I suppose I got on him early in the year. He won the novice at the Cheltenham Festival. I've loved the horse since. I agree 100% with you've really nailed the Leopardstown angle. I don't think he's the same horse at Leopardstown. For whatever reason, his form there is certainly below his usual standard. It's the only place really where he's been disappointing. Good course form from the meeting last year when I suppose he was a little bit lucky, controversial, but he did travel all over his rivals that day. For some reason, over fences, he's just become. He looks a completely different horse. Like he's so settled and relaxed and almost asleep now. I do think the cheek pieces will help him to just wake him up a little bit. He was really buzzy, like over hurdles, and I don't know, have they been trying to get him to settle and settle and settle, and has it just gone? Have they gone too far with him?
Yeah,
And they need to wake him up a bit now. But yeah, I was keen to take on Django Boy. He must have had a hard race at Cheltenham. Like it's only just over 3 weeks ago. Just the effort that it would have taken him from where he come from, in the Arkle. I agree, 2.5 is his best trip. But yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd be very keen on Imperial Pass as well. My first one also runs on Thursday. Again, a horse I really like. It's Grey Dawning in the bowl. He's a little bit lucky. I probably wouldn't follow him down much more in price. 2 to 1 now, I think is best. He was 5 to 2 before the decks. I'd just be worried about Spillan's Tower. Like they said that he didn't travel over well for the King George. A lot of his best form is right-handed. I'm not sure this is what he really wants now. Drying ground as well would be another concern for him. So I was kind of keen to take him on. And a high senior, I suppose, is always dangerous around Aintree, but I was kind of worried about Gaelic Warrior because, again, it's a horse I just have a soft spot for. But I see Patrick, like Paul has deserted him, which is a major negative on his chances, in my opinion. Paul rarely gets it wrong at these big meetings. And I just think Grey Dawning is a rock solid option. I like the fact that they've kind of got his season back on track. I thought the Betfair would leave a mark. It probably did in the King George. I don't think he was anywhere near the same horse, but very good at Kelso the last day when comfortably disposing of Iroko, conceding weight. I think like he's comfortably a 165 plus horse on his day. May even have the potential to be better than that, given his conditions. And I think these conditions will suit. I know he disappointed slightly at the meeting last year, but he was after a hard race at Cheltenham. He skipped Cheltenham this time around. Much better prep. And I think he'd be very hard to beat.
it's a very, very tentative nay for me. And that's only because I just think if a high senior stands up, I think he can win this by street. I know that's almost ironic coming from a horse that's I think fell last time out and pulled up the time before that. But it's just his entry form. His form in this race in particular as well. With Grey Dawn, my only kind of slight couple negatives are he's yet to back up a win over fences. It's always kind of one, then second or third, one, then second or third. This season's not gone well, of course. I think the Betfair did leave its mark. It was over from the first in the King George, really. I know that it was impressive at Kelso, but I just wonder whether, I think you're right. So Iroko will be much better than 152 in time. But I'm not entirely sure what he beat in Iroko that day. I know that he had his national mark, did Iroko, so there's no reason for him not to try. But in the same sense, I wouldn't want to give him a hard race. So I'm just not sure what the form of that race can quite equate to. And as you say, you're right to mention the Cheltenham after he obviously fell in the Sefton here, and then he was only third in the manifesto. But you are right to mention that he had the hard race in the Turners that season. I just think that the Hoy Sanyal, his course form is 2 wins, a third, 2 seconds, and a third. And I like the old run, the Sefton. His last 2 efforts in this race, he was second to Jerry Colomb in the race last season. And I was on him that day, and he actually jumped impeccably well. Like for Hoy Sanyal, it was marvellous. Just beaten by the Gold Cup second, which I think is easily the best piece of form in this contest. And then he was second to Shishkin when, in typical Hoist in your fashion, never jumped at all. But he still nearly beat him. And I think for me, those are Pete Shishkin's. I suppose at that trip, and Pete Jerry Colomb. And I just don't think anything in this race could get near to the likes of Shishkin and Jerry Colomb on the day. And for that reason, I just think if a Hoy Senior stands up and can get back to that form, second time up after wind up. I know he's fell last time out, but he fell the time before at Cheltenham in the Gold Cup and then second this race last season. I just think at the prices around 13-2, 6-1, Hoy Senior is just a stellar each way bet's nothing for me.
Yeah, like I say, he's the one I'd fear. I actually, what did he fall before Aintree last year?
Yes,
No,
it was even last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, because he ran in the Ryanair last season, didn't he? Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. Yeah, look, I would be worried about him, but I'm still going to stick with Great Dawning. I think this horse I don't think he's reached his potential. I'll be disappointed if he can't take care of these. Your second one, Matty?
My second one would be your mate Mayertown in the Mildmay Novices on the Friday. I don't know whether this is because I've got a soft spot for the horse after you certainly helped me out on the Tuesday with it at Cheltenham. Sorry, is it? Yeah, the Mildmay. Sorry, yeah. There's just something about the way that he won that day, which I thought was just so impressive. I know that he's entered in the freebooter handicap, of course. But he is jocked up for the Mildmay. I just wonder whether they're going to take the chance here. Like the way that he won the ultimate was just so impressive. You don't win ultimates like that from the front and stay on like the hill like that if you are 150 plus horse. I know that he's only been readjusted to 142. He'd have something to find with the likes of handstands and Coldwell Potter, but I think he's got the potential for it. And the record of the winners of the Mildmay as well. Like no horse in the last 10 years finished worse than second at Cheltenham before I got on to win the Mildmay. I think last season I know the way you're thinking. It was second. Was it last season? It was second to Kim Yorn, then won the Mildmay. I won the Kim Yorn and won the Mildmay. Sorry. Yeah, that's it. Then the last four were all second, and there was 2 winners. So Cheltenham form is very crucial in this race. Obviously, my only concern will be whether he doesn't go to the contest. But given he is jocked up, I'm hoping that he will do. So the likes of Coldwell Potter, Stella Story, they were first and second at Cheltenham. They'd have to come into contention as well. But I just think this Mayertown, the way that he won the ultimate was so impressive. What the form equates to, we don't quite know yet, but visually it was just, I've not seen much like it in ultimate like that. And we know that Lucinda has a good record with the runners from the ultimate, and I think this might be another Corrick Granmore course in Mayertown. So it's a fair price, 12-1, I think, tops price around that now. So yeah, Mayertown in the manifesto.
Yeah, you're after putting a poser to me there now. First of all, I thought he was going to go with the handicap, and then I saw him jock like you did for this race, and I thought about it and said, "Oh, I probably go to the handicap." If he does go here, I definitely wouldn't be against him. Obviously, look, I was quite keen for the Ultima, because I thought he was a lot better than 129 or 130. Was it he ran off? Sorry, 132. Was it? I can't even remember now. It was around the 130 mark, and I was like, this horse could have
127.
lost the ground. Sorry,
127. I think it was.
127. Okay, right. Now it is a bit like last year. I know the way you're thinking went from winning a handicap of 145 to coming here and winning. It was probably a better renewal. Well, I'd say it was a better renewal last year than it looks like it's going to be this year. It's a big leap from winning a handicap of that sort of mark to going into grade one. Now it would be a positive, and I suppose we don't really know where this horse's ceiling is. We've no idea basically, because he came down at Lingfield when I thought he was going to, or at Windsor rather, when he was going, looked like he was going to win. He then sprinted away at Kelso, and he sprinted away at Cheltenham. He's winning in a manner that he's still in the kind of could be anything category as a novice. So at the price, it'd be very fair. It wouldn't be an A from me. I'd be kind of looking to take on the top of the market in this if they turned up, and if he turns up, he's certainly one that I wouldn't mind having a play on.
Can I just, especially, I don't think he'd still be 4-1 for the handicap if he wasn't going to go there. I think they'd have taken the 4-1. It wouldn't be there. It wouldn't be there still. They'd be there if he was going for a handicap. I don't think.
Yeah, that's a good point.
1-4-2. Did someone smarter than me? Someone would have took all that up. You'd imagine.
Yeah, I thought about that now, to be honest, until I saw him jump for the other race. I was like, 4-1, geez, that looks very fair. But not a kind of price you play anti-post. You don't know what the target, but yeah, you could be onto something there. You could be onto something. They might roll the dice with the novice race, and if he wins it, great, and if he doesn't, then they probably haven't done too much damage to their mark with a view to next season. Yeah, no, it's a tentative yay, mainly because I don't think he's going to go here, but you've made two good points now as to why they would. So yeah, it is winnable. It is winnable, definitely. My second one is in the Liverpool Hurdle. Again, just kind of looking to take on Tihupu on this ground off the back of the Cheltenham run. And I've come down on the side of Home by the Lee, who has beaten the Stairs Hurdle winner twice this season, Bob Ollinger, at Leopardstown. Again, I'm going back to my similarities, or I'm linking in Leopardstown Farm and Aintree Farm. I don't know what has put this idea in my head. Maybe it's just the Paddy Power, but I feel like there are other examples as well, even though it contrasts them with Imperial Pass, who doesn't seem to like Leopardstown and likes Aintree. But I just think this is a race that could really suit Home by the Lee. The fact that he kind of unseated at Cheltenham could be a positive for him, in that he probably didn't have that hard a race. The race was only developing when he departed. So I think that could help him here, in that some horses would have had a harder race there than he did, certainly. This race can often turn into a real test as well. I remember the image of Sir de Burley coming from absolutely nowhere a couple of years ago. Horses, it can change numerous times late on, and I think that's a type of race that really suits Home by the Lee, where there's a really strong gallop. I think he's better than ever this season. I know he's getting on in years now, but his Leopardstown form this season looked really, really good. He seems to be travelling better in his races, something that he was doing again at Cheltenham last time before he departed. And at the prices, I think he's very solid, around 13-2, 7-1.
Yeah, again, it's very slightly tentative near, and you are the Bob Ollinger form. If that form holds up, he should win. Essentially, I couldn't see a reason why he wouldn't win. It's just I don't quite know if I can trust him. He was beaten in this race in 2023 after again winning at Leopardstown and Navan, the Grade 1 and the Grade 2. I know that came after a hard race in Stayers, so I think you are right in that sense. He's obviously a lot of a softer time this time, comes in a bit more fresher. But the RPRs that season, he had 161 and 160 going into Aintree. He only had 159 and 153 this time around. I just wonder whether he actually is that much of a better horse than what it was a couple of seasons ago. And his form does tend to tail off towards the end of the season. Like, again, it was third in the stage last season, third in the Puncher Stand renewal a month later, 2 months later. Then he tailed it. He was seventh at Artoy, or sixth at Artoy, beat 7 lengths. And it's just like a similar scenario throughout his season that he kind of the fourth or third or fourth run of his season, he just slowly tails off after kind of impressing at the likes of Leopardstown and Navan. I just don't know if I can trust him. Like he has definitely got the best form of the race at the moment. Obviously beating the Stayers head winner twice this season. It's just that slight niggling doubt that he's been beaten in the race before after a similar prep, or like a carbon copy prep, apart from pulling up unseating at Cheltenham last time out. So I've got to take him on in that sense. Are you all right? I don't want to be able to keep you either. I think he'll want it a lot softer. I couldn't have Kit's Bull stepping up. I'm not sure how he's in it's 5-1. It's a bit of a strange one. It's between Strong Leader and Monmorel for me. Last year's was a Strong Leader, very similar prep in the Cleve Hurdle before I got on to win this. He's a 10 times better horse on the flatter tracks. So it'd be a strong Leader. The other one that would be Monmorel at a price. He just got good entry for, hasn't he? Like he's first in the anniversary 4-year-old hurdle, he's second in the Aintree hurdle, and that was when he was like at his peak of his powers. Before he kind of tailed off going chasing. Good prep in the Cleve hurdle last time out. He skipped Cheltenham, similar to last year's, with a Strong Leader. So those would be the two that I'd be on the day, but I couldn't discount Home Motherly at all. So it'd be very, very tentative near, but I think those would be the three fighting in the finish.
Yeah. I think we're along the same lines. Strong Leader, he was my second in. I hadn't really thought about Monmorel, but you make the point.
I think he's also one that might want it a bit softer though, and he's also entered in one of the handicaps off top weight. So I think it'd be I'd be favouring Strong Leader more than Monmorel.
Yeah, Strong Leader. Would you be worried about the ground?
Yeah, I think good and soft would be fine with Strong Leader. I think he'd be okay on that. I'll have to double check back his form. He's not particularly a horse with a massive action. I think he won his novices over hurdles on decent enough ground. Yeah, I think the ground will be okay.
Yeah. Your third and final selection, Matty, for this part of the show.
It's a simple one. Romeo Coolio in the top novices hurdle. The second favourite in here is Triple A Flyer. Salvatore Mundi, God knows what goes on in Salvatore Mundi's head. If Romeo Coolio turns up to this, I think he's the standout bet in the meeting. That's me saying that 5-4. It looked like he wanted to step up and trip before Cheltenham, and again, it looked like he wanted it after Cheltenham. I thought it was quite a strong renewal of the Supreme. Cope at the ball will be a champion horse next season. William Money probably be an Arkle horse next season. I think he's bumped into two very good types. I thought the ones in behind weren't that bad. And I just looking through the race, there's nothing that even remotely close to Romeo Coolio. So it'd be Romeo Coolio in the top novice hurdle on the Friday.
Okay. Tentatively against him. I know there's not much to take him on with. I'm not sure I'm going to be having a bet in the race. I just don't really trust him enough to take a sharp price about him. He's a little bit in and out for me. I know his run in the Supreme was very good, and prior to that, he was good at Leopardstown. But before that, he disappointed in the Royal Bond. I think this horse needs a trip. Like I think they might actually consider stepping him up. But I just think 2 miles around Aintree, I know he'd probably make his own running, and if there's no pace in the race, but I just don't know. And I also think he had a hard race at Cheltenham, a very hard race. I think he'd have put a lot of effort into the Supreme, into getting as close as he did. And with the 3-week turnaround, I'd be slow in getting involved at sharp prices in horses that I think have had a hard race at Cheltenham. And that's enough for me. Just not really sure I'll be playing something against him, but I don't think I'll be backing him, but it is tentative. I could see him winning because his best form is probably clear of his rivals here. But
Yeah, and that's I think kind of the large bulk of the reason is I couldn't see anything, even if it was just to run £5 below that supreme one. I think he'd still probably win this.
yeah, he
Um,
probably has a bit of room to work with.
yeah.
Yeah. My third selection in the graded races is Mr. Megit or Megit, I think it is. Um, for colours that are, I suppose, synonymous with Aintree in many ways. In the Sefton Novices Hurdle, I know he's been off the track for a while. This is very much the plan, I believe. I thought there was an element of stardust about his run now earlier in the season. He was one of the first novices this season that really I went, oh, okay, he's a really good novice. I know we haven't seen him since. Didn't go to Cheltenham this year, very much by design, I believe. And this, I think this is very winnable. It tends to be, and I think this is a horse at the moment that I'm quite excited about. Actually, I think he's going to be a lovely novice chaser next season. I think he's a horse to follow. There's just something about him. It's hard to sum it up. Obviously, look, his form, we don't really know what he achieved that day, but there's just sometimes you see a horse and it's just a visual. You just have to kind of trust your eyes. And I thought that performance was very, very classy from him. And I'm really looking forward to seeing him stepped up in class in this Grade One contest.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement. I think John Joe Neal liking him to synchronised. I think the closest thing he's had since synchronised. As you say, that novice that performance back in November, I think it was just unbelievable. Like
Yeah,
as you say, not quite sure what he'd be, but visually look at it and you just think that was just it had everything, didn't it? You know, the cruising speed, the way he kicked clear, the way he travelled, it was impressive. I think he had a slight niggle. I think that's why they had him out of Cheltenham. And was it? I think he was really, really well fancied for the bumper here last season, wasn't he? As well, I think he was all the rage, wasn't he?
he
And I think
was.
he
Yeah,
bled from the nose, maybe.
yeah,
Yeah, they're proper like him. But yeah, that's a serious smart form. I think he's only got one credible rival in Calife Envoy, of course, second to a New Lion a couple of starts back. Um, but the New Lion beaten quite convincingly. Probably the winning distance maybe didn't do it. Maybe flattered the Calife Envoy a little bit. So
yeah.
yeah,
I think
Mr.
so.
Nugget for me, proving himself fresh, as you say. Yeah, I'm very excited about him too. Being a definite year for me.
Yeah, I think he just did. He just did everything right. You know, he did like I know. Look, you are kind of saying what did he beat, but his jumping, the way he travelled, you couldn't take a mark off him if you were marking his scorecard. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. Look, it could be a bubble burst, but I'd be I'd be very disappointed if he doesn't win here and win impressively.
Perfect.
So we found our agreement in our three selections. Mr. McGitt, who Matty agreed with from me, and Impere Pass in the first race on Thursday, and Meyertown if he runs in the 3 mile novice chase. Right, Matty, it's best bets time. I'll give you the honour. Your best bets for the Aintree meeting.
My first best bet will be Sainsbury in the Red Room. I apologise for any French listeners if I just butchered that pronunciation.
Oh, I think that's good.
Um, well, yeah, the GCC coming in handy, you see. Look, he won the race last season. My only slight concern is the HUD's not been reapplied as an accident record with the HUD. When they took it off this season, that's when it went downhill. But I just think I almost think Paul Nicholls got sick of Dan Skelton plotting all these horses up for his handicaps. That he just tried to do it himself for once. Like he was a really impressive winner that the last day of this race. Beat San Ra, who I think was quite well fancied. There wasn't disgrace next time out either. Started off this season with a third in the Howden Gold Cup, matching that RPR when he won the Red Rum of 141. JPR Bond's place and the winner JPR Bond's place in Grade 1 since behind John Bond. And the second yellow, of course, won next time out, and the Pete Purchase form figures of a win, second, a win, and a second, both in a Group 2 company. So I think the Howden Gold Cup forms worked out really well. And then he wasn't disgraced again next time out, matching that same RPR of 141. beating 11 lengths behind Martator in the competitive Burn handicap the Hurst Park chase that Santigel failed to beat Boots Hill in, unfortunately, to bring that one back up. Cotmask has boasted the form since. I think the run behind Martator is really good. And I just think if he can come back to that form he showed at the start of the season, I know that he's been in and out since. He's pulled up twice. He was beaten 47 lengths last time out, and the same pref race that he had when winning this race last season. But he was beaten 20 lengths by Matata, and I actually don't think that was a bad race. It was that Farkiko race at Lingfield where none of them really tried at all. They're all going for a mark, and Matata just took it up and just bolted off. Got himself in a bit of trouble. Was only beaten 8 lengths by the second. It was second in the Grand Annual behind Jazzy Matty, Unexpected Party. Back on that last one in Mark, Cobden jumps on top. I think if Sainsbury, if he can get over the issues of the last couple of starts, I think he's a very well found, well placed horse in the Red Run.
Yeah, I like that. Agreement again.
And my next best bet would be Mr. Hope Street, and in the Skelton handicap that is won five of the three of the last five renewals now. It was one of my horses to follow at the start of the season. I remember seeing at the back end of last year where just a big, raw, rangy, future chasing type, and one of those where you just think once he puts it all together, it'll be really impressive. And this season he's done well. He won 3 in the bounce, or 2 in the bounce, and finished second to Gypcott last time out in Newbury, who wasn't disgraced next time out in that race at Windsor, when he came from impossible position. Bumped into, I said, Gypcott's £10 higher now. The third one since now rated £9 higher. The fourth Spirit of Danny was beaten 3 lengths in the county. So I think the form's worked out well. I don't think it was necessarily he was halting his progression. I think he was just giving a bit of a stones of a ride. Dan Skelton said this has been a plan all along. Always touted as a good horse at this race. I know he's got a fair few to come out to get into the race. But if he does, I think off this mark, he's chucked in, and there'll be a lovely future chase next season as well. So be a Mr. Hope Street at the 120 on Saturday.
Yeah, Dan has a brilliant record in that race. I think in the handicap hurdles in general at Aintree, he's a hard man to beat. Is that it for your best bets, or have you?
Yeah, it's one of them. It's one of these one of these weeks where it just seems tricky to kind of get into. You've got the Cheltenham form coming back, you don't, I'm just playing it safe at this stage of the, especially before the decorations are all out.
Yeah, very good. My nap is Mr. Midget. You think I'm going to learn how to say that name when I'm going to be saying it so much? That's my nap anyway. I think this is a really, really good horse. The case I've already made for him. I think 5-1 at the moment is very, very fair. If he was around that price, or even 4-1 at declaration, I'd be having a strong play on him. My next best, you've actually kind of half stolen. It's San Brui. I really like the angle of prominent racers in the handicaps at Aintree. The handicap chases, that is. I did a piece on at the races. It's live at the moment to Festival Edges. Basically, over the last 5 years, excluding the national, there are 11 wins from the 15 handicap chases, plus 104.58 to £1 stake, huge profit. 6 of those have actually made all, including Sam Brui in this race last year. So, like, they're winning more often than not, the prominent runners. Now, look, he mightn't exactly make it, but he's going to be up there. I agree. He was deeply impressive last year in this race. Like, that was a good renewal of the race. San Rao franked the form afterwards, and he disposed of him pretty comfortably, really, in truth. And they were well strung out further back. They finished at large intervals. I think the ground will be fine. It was a slight concern, but good to soft. I think it'll be absolutely fine. You mentioned the run in the Holland Gold Cup, which was actually very decent, even though it probably wasn't anywhere near his plan or his target. When you consider what the two in front of him have done since, I think that's a very fair run. And off the same mark as last year, I think he just simply must go close. I can't believe I'm going against Calico, because I have been thinking
I was just going to say that. Yeah, I was just going
I've
to say
been
that.
thinking Calico is going to win a red rum with
Yeah.
2 years.
You've mentioned it several times as well. If that wins, you'll never hear the last of it.
Yeah, I'm going to have a saver on him, but I prefer Sam Brewy. Um, I just actually since the day he fell behind Jambon, which is 2 years ago in a novice, wasn't it? Or is it even 3 years ago?
Yeah, yeah. It must be three now. Yeah,
Yeah, I remember thinking that horse is going to win a red rum, and now he's finally running in a red rum. I was waiting all season last season for him, and he didn't, and then he won in his reappearance at Cheltenham this season when I backed Matata. So he's a horse that I really have a love-hate relationship with.
yeah.
I'll be having a saver on him just in case because he's a big price.
Well, I think he's been clipped into 8-1.
Has he?
I just looked. Yeah, I think he might have been.
Oh, he was 14s earlier when I
It was
looked.
20. It was I'm going to say it was 20s top price all morning. Um, it's been packed into 8-1. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Someone's listening to me about the red rum anyway. And my each way selection, if he gets in and if he runs, is Navajo Indy in the handicap hurdle. I I just think this horse. I know he had tried further, but I think he's been crying out for his last few starts. A well run 2.5 miles. He's been catching the eye, staying on in good races. Obviously, the Newbury race, that form looks to be working out quite well again with Godante winning from further back in the field in the Imperial Cup. I just really like that run. I thought he was very, very eye catching. He was impressive in a strongly run race earlier in the season as well. I think 2.5 miles would be absolutely perfect for him now. I think he's rock solid to be in the frame at around 10-1 in the 2.5 mile handicap hurdle. So they're our
Yeah,
best bets.
I just want to give my each way one as well. I've completely forgot Happy Go Lucky, our old friend, is running in the freebooter. 16-1 for a race that he won to start at 2 years ago now. I think he's £10 lower. Beating 15 lengths in the ultimate behind my town. I think that is rock solid form. 4 lengths behind the second. It follows the same prep he did as he won the freebooter in 2021. I think at 16-1, Happy Go Lucky, still on this train, is going to be a good each way.
Very good, very good. So that's it from us. That's our Aintree preview. We're just on the hour. We had a good look at the Grand National, mentioning pretty much every horse that's going to run in the race, I think, between us in some shape or form. So we've got that covered. Also, some bit of fun as well. Disagreement and agreement in our yay or nay and best bets for the meeting. Matty, thanks a million as always for joining me. You've been brilliant as always, very informative, always learning something from you every time I talk to you. And I hope our listeners are too. Very best of luck to all our viewers for the weekend, for the Grand National meeting. We hope you back the winner of the big one. And obviously, we hope it's a very good weekend of racing as usual. Matty, thanks very much for joining me again. You've been brilliant. And talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thank you very much. Have a good weekend, everyone.